What's poppin'? It's ARYAAN. Welcome to the first ever RAPS review with me, ARYAAN Kanji, where we talk about all things Raptors. Now before we start, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below some of your thoughts on the Raptors so far. Let's get it! Alright, so Toronto Raptors have played 10 games so far. And let's say it straight up. The Toronto Raptors do not look like the Toronto Raptors. But that doesn't mean they haven't improved. They definitely have improved. And if you've been watching the games, you know that. We didn't come out super hot, but we've definitely been getting there. We've been getting our guys to step up. We got Nick Nurse playing with the rotations. But there's still a lot to be done. A lot to be done. So I'm going to go over some of my opinions. What has improved, what needs to be improved, how we can improve them. And the first thing I want to talk about is Pascal Siakam. And I can't believe this man still gets a lot of hate because Pascal Siakam is a baller. At the end of the day, yes, he's had some rough patches, but he is a baller. He's an all-star. And in the span of 4 years, this man was a G League champion, a G League Finals MVP, an NBA champion, a most improved player, and then a little later became an all-star. So Pascal Siakam can play. And right now he's in a position where he's trying to transition into that #1 leading scorer. He's trying to be the #1 scoring option, but things are just not always falling, and that's totally fine. I think one main thing is the Raptors did make some significant changes, and as you all know, in the front court, Pascal Siakam isn't balling out with Serge Ibaka. He isn't on the court with Marc Gasol. He hasn't had the most experience playing alongside Boucher. So there's definitely a lot of gelling, and it's clear as day that they have some serious issues gelling. But that doesn't mean Toronto Raptors are garbage. It's only been 10 games, guys. It's only been 10 games. Yes, they haven't been the greatest 10 games. Toronto Raptors are 2-8. And 8. It's been a while since we've seen the Raptors like that. And is it optimistic to think that they can make the playoffs? They can. It's not going to be easy, but they can. But the one thing I want to talk about, which is on everybody's mind, everybody's talking about this, is the big man. Who are we playing at the 5? Who are we starting at the 5? And I've heard a lot of conversations about Chris Boucher, and obviously, I love Chris Boucher. I'm a Slim Duck stan. I love Chris Boucher, and I definitely think he can start. But I don't think he can start every game. And that's not saying he's a bad player. He is probably the best person we have to play the 5. This man is 3rd in the NBA currently for blocks per game. He shoots threes like lights out when he's open. So and you know what? He can shoot contested threes too. But I definitely think for some games, it is smart for Nick Nurse to bring him off the bench. And why is that? Let me tell you. A lot of the time, teams start a center that's a little bit more dominant, a little more size dominant, as towards Boucher. He's a little more skinnier. He can stretch the floor, but he's a little bit skinnier. And I think against Portland, for example, when we started Alex Len, yes, Alex Len did garbage. He literally didn't do anything. He had 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 blocks. So I don't think Alex Len obviously is the best starter. But I think containing Nurkic, it's important to not put Boucher there and keep Boucher for the mismatch. And that mismatch was Enes Kanter. Yes, Enes Kanter played well. Enes Kanter isn't the best player though, and that's the mismatch Boucher is there for. So I think Boucher can move up into the starting role when we're playing Golden State, and we have Wiseman and Boucher has the upper hand. I think Boucher is the best. The best time to play Boucher is the mismatch. He's a dominant player. He can ball. Boucher can ball. But I think that mismatch is really what puts Raptors at an edge, and that's what gives us our leads. It's just about closing out. Now, a few options for the big man. Aaron Baines, obviously, we got him to be our starting big man, but this man is not a starting big man. It's clear as day that he's not a starting big man. I mean, he came off the bench in Phoenix, didn't do too much. He should be coming off the bench here now because of the way he's playing. So I think we really got to improve the 5. And I think a good place to start looking is Cleveland. Now I know I don't want Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond can ball, he can get rebounds, but I don't think his IQ really works out too well for the Raptors. And I don't think it'll work with JaVale McGee either. Now, let's think about who the Cavs have. They just acquired Jared Allen in the blockbuster James Harden trade today. So they got Jared Allen. And I really don't want Jared Allen's, this is completely unrelated, but I do not want Jared Allen's value to completely plummet. Because Jared Allen can think while he plays. He is a smart player. Say what you want. I can respect Jared Allen, and I don't want him to be in the shadows of Drummond, McGee, Kevin Love, Larry Nance in Cleveland. I really don't want that. So Jared Allen is a possibility. We got Andre Drummond, Jared Allen. We got Kevin Love. Kevin Love is an older player, but Aaron Baines is also an older player. I think Kevin Love can bring a lot of leadership to the Raptors. How well he can play as a starter is questionable, but we brought in Marc Gasol, and we got a ring out of it. I mean, not because of Marc Gasol, but we got a ring out of it. Then we got JaVale McGee. And JaVale McGee has experience. I mean, he's won rings with both the Warriors and the Lakers, so he's got the experience. But JaVale, I don't see his talent really working with the Raptors, just like I don't see Andre Drummond's talent working with the Raptors. McGee has the potential to be a great player for Cleveland, and he could take Cleveland, he could take their rookies on a journey. I mean, you got Isaac Okoro, you got Jetty Osman, you got a good team there. So I think JaVale McGee, his best interest is staying in Cleveland. And then another option outside of Cleveland that people are talking about is Marvin Bagley. And Marvin Bagley, he's a questionable player to me because he's obviously not doing the best as a center. As a rim protector especially, he's not doing the best. But then you could also argue we have Boucher as a rim protector. And here's the thing. If we're looking for a starting center or even a backup center, height is a big thing. And being able to protect the rim is probably the most important thing. And if you look at Raptors, they're a huge defense-first team. And if you can't protect the rim, you can't work well with the Raps. So who do I think is the best option from Cleveland? I gotta go with Kevin Love. I mean, I know he's got the age, but he's got the leadership. He's won championships. He's been a starting player. Whether it's the 4 or the 5, he's been a starter. We're lacking that already with Aaron Baines and with Alex Len. So I think Kevin Love would offer a lot. He has the ability to shoot. He has the ability to lead. He has the ability to build chemistry, I think, with our players. He's got a similar play style, and I think Nick Nurse and him can really make a connection that he was striving to get with Aaron Baines. And I wish we could have gotten a 5 that could shoot in the offseason, but Aaron Baines didn't offer as much as we thought he would. Maybe he can. He's not getting the minutes. Maybe he's working on that. But at the moment, he's not. Based on these past 10 games, my Raps review is, for the big, we got to be looking at either Kevin Love or exploring options within the G League or exploring options from younger players on other teams. And that's what I think. Definitely Boucher's role needs to get bumped up a bit. He needs to find his way into the starting 5 a lot more often. I wouldn't say every game personally, but definitely a lot more. And that's what I think of the big. But I think we should move on to coaching. Now, Nick Nurse is coming off Coach of the Year. He's got some great assistant coaches with him, people that have worked in the G League, on other NBA teams, and just have a lot of experience. And I think Nick Nurse has done a great job coaching the Raptors over the past few years, but a lot of that you gotta owe it to Serge, you gotta owe it to Gasol, you gotta owe it to the team as well. Because the team was brought together with Nick Nurse coming in. It was just, with the championship run till now, a lot has changed, and you can't deny that. And I think Nick Nurse isn't doing the worst job, but I also don't think he's doing the best job. I mean, distribution of minutes was kind of awful when the regular season started. We had our first game against the Pelicans, and we didn't even see a lot of top dogs that we were looking to see. We signed DeAndre Bembry, and I haven't seen the guy get minutes unless they're in garbage time. We're finally giving Malachi some minutes, and yes, he's a late pick in the first round, but the more he plays, the more comfortable he'll get. And he's a playmaker. And I think Malachi deserves those minutes. And I know a lot of Raptors fans can agree with that. We weren't giving Alex Len that many minutes. And then we gave Alex Len some minutes. He proved himself with the 3-point shooting against Sacramento. But now, again, he's a 5 that we're not always confident with. I think rotations haven't been the strongest. We weren't playing Terrence Davis. Now we are. We started playing Matt Thomas. Now we're not. We're giving Stanley Johnson a whole lot of minutes. I don't know why. And then you see Paul Watson, who really wants to get on the court. There's a lot going on with the Raptors' rotations and just understanding the talent that our team has. And I think Nick Nurse is still figuring that out. And he has every right to figure that out. We've changed a lot. And as I said, we got Siakam trying to transition into the number 1 scoring option. And let's talk about those 2 game winners real quick. Think about this. I think Siakam, I'm not mad at him for missing. I know it would have been great to have those 2 wins, but somebody has got to start stepping up for the future of the team. And I know Anunoby hit that Celtics game winner, but he's not been on his three-point game. He's been pretty dominant in the paint, but he hasn't been the best from shooting at all. So putting him in the game-winning position right now, probably not the best choice. Siakam is trying to transition into that leader, and he is trying to transition into the guy who can make that final shot. And you just got to take a few attempts. You either got it or you don't. And I think Siakam is stepping up. It takes a lot to just be in the role and be the guy who's like, okay, I'm going to take the last shot. Because you look at other players, you look at Kobe, you look at LeBron, you look at Ray Allen. These players stepped into that role early. And they were able to make those shots. You look at Siakam, he's 26 or 27 at 26. And he's starting to step into that role. He's starting to get more and more into his prime, and he's starting to improve every season. And you can't always do that with the pressure. So I think rotations and coaching is definitely making its steps forward, but in these past 10 games, it didn't start the greatest. But I'm optimistic, and I think it has improved. So the Raptors coaching, like I said, wasn't the greatest. It's getting better, and I think it only will continue to improve. The next thing I want to talk about is a little bit of a touchy subject. It's our trade value, and who are we going to trade if we decide to make any trades before the trade deadline. And a lot of people have been talking about losing Kyle Lowry. And I did not want to talk about this at all, because it's possible. It's very much possible. Lowry is a great player, a great leader, and he would be a great asset on any team. I mean, you got a guard who can take charges, who's brave, who's not shy to freaking argue with the refs. And then you got a player, he's a player who can shoot. He can drive his teammates. He can motivate them. He can take it to the rim. So, Lowry can ball. And Lowry would be a great asset on any team, and he can really bump our trade value a lot. So, as much as I don't want to talk about it, if Raptors are in the position to get somebody big or somebody that they think could make an impact, I don't think Masai will hold back as much as we think he will. And to be honest, I put a lot of trust in Masai. I mean, we're talking about the Raptors being garbage, but it's only been 10 games. And when you have Leonard coming in, we had a similar attitude. Oh no, we lost our baby, we lost DeRozan. And after a few games, things started to work. I know things are obviously very different this season, but I definitely do trust Masai a little bit more than I think a lot of people do. So I think that we can make it work, but obviously we want to contain Kyle Lowry for as long as we can. I think that's the best move, personally. I mean, losing Serge, we saw what happened. Losing Leonard, we saw what happened. I don't think we should lose another one of our superstars. Maybe not a league superstar, but he's a Raptor superstar. Greatest Raptor of all time, Kyle Lowry. So that's what I got to say about that. And the final thing I want to talk about is kind of my prediction for the next 10 games. Because we talked about the last 10 games. We had 2 heartbreaking losses by 1 point against the Warriors, against the Blazers, and we had a lead in the Blazers game. So the final thing I want to talk about is my prediction for the next 10 games. One thing Raptors gotta do that everyone talks about, everyone's been saying for the past 10 games, and this is why they're down bad, is closing out games. I was actually fuming in the Portland game. And I don't always get like that, so we gotta close out games. When we have a lead, and I'm not saying we played horrible in the fourth quarter, but Portland came back. And yes, we were up by 17 at one point, and yes, the fourth quarter was like a 10-point game. Still, we're a defense first team most of the time, and you can see our record. Last season, we were one of the top teams for closing out 10-point leads. And this time, we've already have a worse record. So that says a lot. When we have a 10-point lead, or when we have any lead, it's so important that we close out. And yes, we were playing a superstar. I say we're playing 2 superstars. CJ McCollum is a superstar, underrated superstar. Yes, we were playing Melo, and he always balls out against Raptors, crazy. And yes, we were playing Lillard. And Lillard didn't light up until he hit that one major 3 in the fourth. Closing out is so important for us. And I think Nick Nurse really has to work, and our big men trainers really got to work with pacing on defense. Because a lot of the time we run the floor in transition, we take a quick shot, and the other teams in transition are just a lot faster than us. So I think that's something we got to work on. And for the next 10 games, I personally think we can see a lot more wins. I'm going to be honest, we didn't have the easiest start to the season. I mean, we played Portland, We played Pelicans twice, and they had an edge over us. They had Steven Adams. They had Zion. So they had their two forwards a lot stronger than ours, and Siakam wasn't on his game at that time. So Pelicans had an edge over us. Yes, we beat the Knicks. Yes, we beat the Kings. But we had the Warriors. We had Curry coming off of his 62-point game. I think for the next 10 games, we do gotta work a lot harder, but I think we do have that little bit of room to experiment with Charlotte for the next 2 games. Not saying Charlotte is a bad team. Yes, we beat them both times in the preseason, but they have improved. LaMelo he got his first triple-double. He's got the youngest triple-double. Siakam's also got his first triple-double though. So Charlotte is a team that we kind of have played before. We know. Definitely don't take it easy on them, but I think it's a time to experiment with those rotations a little bit more. Give Flynn your minutes. Give Thomas your minutes. Maybe he'll surprise you on defense. I know Nick Nurse is really against that. Give Davis the minutes. Davis has always been balling out for the past 2 games, 3 games. So experiment a bit with that. Give Bembry some minutes if you want. I know he's not the strongest player. His wingspan is long, so that can help a lot. But just take these games very seriously. And Raps fans, these are the Raptors. Come on. If you're a fan, you ain't a bandwagon, stay with us. I'm with this team till I die. I'm not going to obviously force you or anything. But I just don't think we should give up on the Raptors yet. I don't think we should close them out. There's 72 games. 72. We've played 10. And I know with this attitude, you're probably like, oh, after the next 10, oh, we've played 20. There's still like, so many games. But I still think they can improve. I still think there's a lot to be learned. And the most important thing is that we improve and we keep improving. And for next season, we keep improving. I've heard a lot of predictions that if we make a blockbuster trade in the coming off season, we could win another championship, another ring or 2. So that's my thoughts on the first 10 games. I'm going to try to do this for every 10 games because the Raptors changed a lot. And I think that it's important that I know there's a lot of other YouTubers, a lot of other podcasters talking about it, but I want to keep talking about it. I want to keep talking about my team. Go Raps, go. Thanks for watching. ARYAAN out.